There's been severe weather this month, but nothing quite like this. So, in today's video, we're gonna make sure that you have everything that you need to be prepared. You have to admit, it's been a pretty relaxing September so far. We just had Hurricane Lee, and although it was a fish storm for most of its life, there were still some impacts to the United States, like power outages, tree damage, beach erosion, and unfortunately, 2 deaths. Okay, so starting off, you can see that we have a low pressure up here that is eventually going to dive into the United States. This is going to be the beginning of our story with this storm that's going to be coming through late in this week on Friday and Saturday. But first, we have a little shortwave trough down here, and that is eventually going to move into the Texas-Oklahoma area and cause some initial severe weather tomorrow. So we're going to dive into that first, and then we'll move on throughout the week to tell you what you can expect from these storms. Pushing this forward, you can see that little short wave starts to form there, and then once it gets into the Oklahoma-Texas region, we start to see some convection firing over here. Zooming in, you can see that that is mainly focused in Oklahoma and northern Texas, a little bit into Kansas. I'm not gonna lie, this model is looking a little bit low res, so let's change that. Here we are with the HRRR model, a higher res model, and as you can see, we have some storms firing here at 3 p.m. on the 19th, so that's tomorrow, right around the Oklahoma City area, and maybe a couple of storms down there for northern Texas near Wichita Falls. Pushing this forward, you can see that we have this cluster of storms make its way down into northeastern Texas, also eastern Oklahoma through the Tulsa area, McKinney and Dallas as well, and then pushing this all the way throughout the rest of the day. You can see that, by around 1 a.m., these storms start to fall apart, and they're not really going to be much of a severe threat at this moment. All right, moving on for the risks for tomorrow, you can see that we do have a slight risk mainly for that northern portion of Texas going into Oklahoma, extending from Tulsa through Oklahoma City. Then we also have a marginal risk around that extending from southern Kansas all the way through Oklahoma down into northern Texas. That marginal risk includes cities like Abilene, McKinney, Dallas, Wichita, Dodge City, and just outside of Fort Smith. Tomorrow's tornado risk is really not going to be too big of a deal. As you can see, we don't even have an area highlighted here, but I wouldn't let your guard down completely. I do think that the tornado risk is a little bit underplayed at this point, but we'll see how the models progress into the day. We have a pretty average severe weather wind risk for this area here. We got a 15% risk for severe thunderstorms with 60-mile-per-hour winds and above. There for the same area that's in that slight risk. And probably the biggest risk that we need to pay attention to with this storm is going to be that hail risk. Again, this is nothing that you guys aren't used to out in the Oklahoma and Texas region. So anything that you would do when you would have a big hailstorm, like move your pets indoors, secure your lawn furniture, or move your cars indoors, is what you're going to have to do for this day. And that's for just to the west of Oklahoma City down into the Wichita Falls region and making it just up to the border of Oklahoma and Kansas there. Right here in this black circle, that is where we're going to be expected to see that hail, large hail to very large hail of up to 2-inch hail. So definitely want to take those proper precautions to make sure you're safe there. Okay, we went over all of that. So now let's go and bring our focus back up to here to British Columbia, where we're expecting this low pressure system to dive into the United States. Moving this forward, you can see that that short wave happens down there in Oklahoma and Texas, and then right there you see that up here in the northwest Pacific Ocean we have a diving low pressure system, and then by the 21st it moves into Utah, into the Nevada. Not really going to do much, might cause some rain there for Idaho and Nevada. Moving into the 21st, you can see this is when this storm might start to cause some problems down here in Texas, up in the Nebraska and South Dakota region, where we might have another little short wave try to work its way up into there. And then going into Friday by 7 p.m., this is when I'm expecting some of the worst severe weather to happen with this storm. Coming over to the upper level winds, you can see there's going to be a decent amount. I mean, up in the 50 to 56 area is probably like right in the middle ground of what we would consider a lot of shear in this area, and essentially lower and upper level shear work together to make spin in the atmosphere and eventually produce tornadoes. Looking at the lower level winds, you can see in some areas there for Kansas and Nebraska, we're seeing 42, 38, which is a little bit elevated, from the middle ground there. Pretty much a typical trough shear, which you would get in a severe weather event that can produce multiple tornadoes. Maybe a tornado outbreak, but probably not. We'll have to see. There's definitely enough spin in the atmosphere in order to cause tornadoes in all modes of severe weather on Friday. Looking at the surface base cape, you can see that there's plenty of moisture and energy out in front of this storm. Essentially, all this means is that the storm's got food to eat as they move into this area. If they didn't have anything anything to eat, they would just fall apart. And the last day we're going to be talking about is the 23rd. So let's move this on over to the 23rd. This is a pretty organized, severe setup. I mean, you've got a very defined trough here with a bunch of storms firing along this line here, stretching from Wisconsin all the way into Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, down into Texas. Looks like the upper level shear is still in the lower to mid-level ground here. I would say it's about a 2 out of 5 in severity for the upper level shear. Coming over to the lower level shear, though, you can see that the strongest shear is going to be out in front of this storm with around 30 to 42 mile per hour winds there. So still enough shear to cause spin in the atmosphere and also cause tornadoes. So we're probably going to have multiple days here of where this storm is going to be capable of causing tornadoes. You know, for the entirety of the month of September, we've been dealing with some severe weather, but we really haven't had any tornado risks over 2%. I really think that streak is going to break, and we're going to start to see those 5% start to return here, you know, late this week going into the rest of September. So we're really going to have to watch these different troughs as they come in. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you appreciated what I did here.